Boom. All right. We are live. And by live, I mean recording. So what's up, everybody? I am Mr. Gimpy. And over here, we got Chipped Monk. How's it going, brother?
It's going great, bro. All right.
And us two make the combo Wombo. So you'll be hearing and seeing a lot of us if you're watching on YouTube or any on your your podcast fucking devices. So let's just
streaming services.
Right. If you're watching us on OnlyFans, Pornhub, non.
Still a thing?
Yeah. I think so.
You can find us on Discord. You can find us around the corner.
Right.
You can find us down the block. You can find us playing at Best Buy on the TVs, demo TVs
shit.
on the radio.
I'm glad you mentioned Best Buy. Did you hear, I think it's like a Best Buy in some southern area of the United States. They had a fucking pink eye outbreak from people trying the Oculus.
The VR. It's always been a problem with VR, dude. You can't handle it. They had the exact same problem when they had it at like CES, I want to say.
Oh, really?
Just nasty people doing nasty things, and that's why we can't have nice things like Oculus.
That's true.
And I feel like those gaming, like virtual VR, you can't really sell like with the commercials. Like you have to like go and experience it yourself to understand it.
So I'm glad you mentioned the commercials. After buying VR, I got the HTC Cosmos, courtesy of a wonderful gift from my wife. I saw, like, after playing like something like Beat Saber or the other
sponsor, our first sponsor,
sponsored by HTC.
Sponsored by your wife.
Sponsored by my wife. Yeah,
she's a wonderful wife.
She's allowing me to sit down in the basement and record at 9 a.m. while she watches the kids.
Combo Wombo, sponsored by your wonderful wife.
Right. So this is what I noticed. So there, like around Christmas time, there was Oculus commercials, right? And underneath in small text it says not actual gameplay, but they were doing like known VR games. So they're like playing Beat Saber or whatever, and the motions were right, but if anyone's ever played Beat Saber, like it wasn't it. It was just it was just like, yeah, that's Beat Saber, but that's like the fucking Walgreens version of Beat Saber, you know?
Right.
And that's what gets to me. And honestly, before I got VR, I thought it was a pure gimmick.
Yeah.
And then
because like I mean, there's been so many like VR gimmicks,
right,
throughout like the 90s and stuff where like the technology wasn't there.
Half-Life is one of my favorite series of all time. And when they announced Alex, super fucking pumped. And then they said VR only. I'm like, God damn it! I don't want to spend $1,000 on something to do this.
We're turning it into a card game.
You know, and my big thing is before I buy
Half-Life 3,
right? Before Diablo Immortal or whatever, right? You don't have phones. The thing for me to buy like a new console or any new like gaming technology is I have to have at least two things that I want to make it a worthwhile purchase. Yeah. So Half-Life Alyx was definitely one, but I needed one more thing, and then that led me to my next expensive purchase of this bad boy right here. Got the Logitech X52.
Audio listeners at home.
Yeah. So it's the Logitech X52 HOTAS Flight Stick. It's the Pro edition with
deep, bro. That's like
actual metal shit.
You're on like a watch list now.
Yeah, I know. So here's why. Motherfucking Star Wars Squadrons.
I hear the good things about it.
I'm a big X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing and like those games, X-Wing Alliance from back in the day. Loved those games. Loved space combat games. And Squadrons came out, and it supported VR tracking. Yeah, I was going to mention that. Wing Commander's great. Love them to death.
That's my only reference for that World where I love the Wing Commander series.
Yeah, so good. And so like jumping into that, it had VR support. So I thought back to when I was a kid, and like my dad and I were playing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and I distinctly remember a conversation going, wouldn't that be great if we could be like actually in the ship doing this? And my dad laughed. He looks like a little kid or whatever. He's like, yeah, okay. When pigs fly, you know. So Squadron said VR support was like, holy shit, you could be in a fucking TIE Fighter or X-Wing and look around and be in the ship.
Yeah.
So
people are doing those conversion kits for
because
like One Up had the arcade version of like the old school one, and people were like building out like a whole thing with that just to play.
So Right, right. So that was like the second killer app. So I told my wife that, and then lo and behold, like she goes, "Oh yeah, there's something in the mail for you." It was like a FedEx thing I had to sign for. So I signed for it. It's this big ass box. Open it up, boom, HTC VR thing, and I was like, "Oh holy shit!" So Half-Life Alyx, Squadrons, and the first game I actually played on VR was Super Hot VR. And that game was you feel like John Wick, dude. You're just you can just like
fucking not you aren't super hot in VR.
Right. It's so good. And then Beat Saber was really fun. The Creed boxing game. You're just fucking punching punching Sylvester Stallone in the jaw. Fantastic.
Amazing.
Half-Life Alyx is definitely my game of the year for 2020.
I can see that. Yeah.
It got like VR game of the year from a lot of publications, and I don't think it. I think because VR adoption rate is smaller than standard games, and I get.
Yeah.
But that aside, no other game has had that level of impact for me this year or in the past like 3 to 4 years. There's nothing like that world, man. You actually feel it feels lived in, and you feel a part of that world. A lot of VR games don't have that sense of like scale or like space correct that I've noticed. But Half-Life Alyx, it's like everything's like physics based. You feel weight. You feel like the weight of your guns. You can like just push open doors, and there's like a little tactile like response to it where
do the
you
controllers
lose yourself.
have any haptic feedback, like vibration or anything?
Yeah.
So you can like get like a little like jolt or whatever when you're doing things.
So these are the Vive controllers. People say it's like they're like one of the worst VR controllers because people prefer like the index ones because it has like finger tracking. But which I mean I'll get eventually, but we'll see. So this is all haptic.
The way like those headsets are going, that they have built-in sensors for the hands now.
Yeah. The Oculus does now. So there's like haptic here. There's vibration to the whole thing, and it's like
how much further do you think that technology has to be pushed before like mass
adoption?
Yeah.
I think
people need to stop getting pink eye first.
Yeah.
Displays.
Honestly, I think it's to the point where you can do mass adoption, especially because the Oculus Quest 2 is only $300.
Yeah.
So I think it's there.
To buy one of those, but you have to have a Facebook account to use it.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Like, just make a fake one for it, and I'm like, I don't.
But that's the thing, though.
Stuff to sign up for Facebook, though. But like,
I
do the same thing for like like Origins and like EA's thing.
Mm-hmm.
The GOG like has like the thing with Steam. Like, everybody has like their own like platform now, and they're like, you gotta sign up to our platform to play our game.
Right.
And I've always it took me like 4 years to get Steam after they launched it, just because ethical grounds. Where I was like, this is bullshit that I can only play a game like on their thing.
Yeah.
I don't actually own it. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I remember those times.
Own nothing and you'll be happy.
That's Half-Life 2 launched with it, man. I had to have that. Like that's like if a new Half-Life comes out, I'm getting it.
Half-Life person, like even like playing the original game where it's like, it's like to me,
gotcha.
At that point, I was already into like Unreal and Quake 3.
Yeah, some more arena shooters and stuff.
Yeah. I wanted like the arena shooter feeling. I was like, this is not arena shooting. This is bullshit.
Yeah, for sure. I get that, and I still play Quake. Like I asked the professor, we'll probably get him on the pod at some point, I assume. I was like, you got Quake installed? He's like, what? No. I was like, oh, just me, huh? Like whenever I build a computer or anything for myself, the first like 2 things I install outside of like supported programs, Quake Live and Counter-Strike are the 2 games I install like right away.
Nice. Like I fell off of Counter-Strike when they moved to Source as well. Like, this is how old I am, bro. Like, I don't know. The one thing I'll say about Half-Life though is like that's what got me interested in making video games. Because they actually had like the level editor in there.
Yep. Hammer editor, yes sir.
Yeah. And like my buddy had that at his house, and like his computer, I was like, what is this? Like I started like making levels and stuff, and I was like, you could just change the textures. This is nuts. This is crazy. Like you can make a game with the Half-Life engine. This is insane.
Yeah.
That got me into like modding Quake 3, where I'd like make characters for it, like custom characters.
Did you do custom models or just custom skins or a little bit of both? Okay, yeah.
Like full on custom models. Like it was hard because you actually had to know to program. Yeah. So like I'd use this program called like a Milkshake 3D.
Yep, I remember that well. Yeah, I actually.
You can only have a certain amount of triangles, and like
Yep.
there was like a triangle point for like where the head would mount on to like the torso and like the gun, because like, you blow off people's heads in Quake, so they had to have like a place to disconnect and connect. Yeah, there was like 3 vertices that like marked out where the head would go.
So
and I made like a character. His name was Zero Kill in Quake 3.
Nice.
It was awesome.
Nice.
The most 90s thing you could do, dude. He had like a skull on his chest. He had wings, dude. It was nuts.
Yeah, that's straight. That's straight. Nice. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Like Unreal Tournament and Quake 3 Arena were the 2 games that I started doing, pursuing 3-dimensional game design. The first time I tried making a game was like 8 or 9. Click and Play was the program that came out. It was like the precursor to Game Maker, made by Multimedia Fusion. Or no, made by Click Team, who now made Multimedia Fusion, which is kind of like their current program for it. So I made a few games in that, just like the tutorials, like a match game, stuff like that. And then Quake and Unreal had so many resources on back then. Like I think I was on like it wasn't AOL, it was whatever like first like DSL something. I think it was like West or AT&T or something like that. So there's so many resources online. I was like, okay, I can do this. So I got Milkshake 3D, tried it, and the documentation was so poor, or maybe I was so young where I just couldn't grasp it, and it
was horrible.
And I kind of dropped it.
The only way I learned it was like my buddy had a book. Remember books?
I sure do.
Yeah, sure do. One of those. That's how I learned it. Like, there's no way you could have figured that shit out just like going in trying to. There's no good documentation at all. Like I had to read a book and like go along with the book to like make a character.
Yeah.
And after I did that, I was like, now I can mod Quake. This is great.
Yeah. So I kind of like dropped 3D and just looked at it as something like in the future. And then I got more and more into like 2D like game development stuff. And then like with Unity, when that came out, I made actually a 2D shmup, which I wish I still had the assets for, or the program. It was like 3 computers ago. It was just like one level of a horizontal shmup, kind of like Gradius. That I made, and it was 2D as well, which I was happy about, just because it was there. But then I went into like I think I was in high school at the time when Unity was a thing, and it was like time plus. What's that?
You kind of whispered that you're like when Unity.
No, I was just trying to think. No, and so I think like
making it more mysterious.
Right, I was in high school.
Spill the beans, bro.
Right. No, and I think that at that point in time, like I loved playing 3D games, but I was like yearning for the 2D experience. So that's kind of what shaped what like the type of games I want to make. Like I really like modern games, things like that, but nothing like hits me in like the nostalgia feels than playing something 2-dimensional. So that's kind of the thing. So so that was that. But yeah, dude, Milkshake 3D.
The other night about a 2D game that I think I'm gonna try and make.
Yeah, are you still gonna use Unity for it, or?
I think so. Unity's not great at making 2D.
It's 2D. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
pretty bad at it.
Yeah,
it's like it actively works against you if you try and make 2D things in it.
Yeah.
But like it was like a simple game where you play like a golfer, and you try and go up to like a mini golf course and steal the ball.
Oh, nice. I like that. Yeah. Some good shit.
It's a turn-based strategy game.
The ball moves, and you have like a hex grid to try and get.
Yeah.
It's dope. Oh, and then the story I wanted to mention earlier before I hit record on this thing, I had to do with the Sega Saturn actually. So I'm surprised I'm wearing a Mortal Kombat shirt today to go with the Mortal Kombat hat. But my favorite like game console of all time is the Sega Dreamcast, but the one I grew up with is the Sega Genesis. So I was definitely a Sega kid growing up, and I skipped the Saturn, not for anything else, but because it retail launched at like $600.
Yeah, it was nuts.
So like my parents were like, "There's no way in hell I'm getting that." So
it's not gonna happen. You gotta get a job, bro.
So there are 3 games that I've always wanted to play.
To school, dude.
Right. Panzer Dragoon Saga, Shining Force 3 and Radiant Silvergun. Now the problem with that is like Saturn emulation has been notoriously horrible, just because
I
of
figured it out at one point, and I feel
yeah.
kind of bad that I didn't help out the community with it.
Yeah, but
because I don't remember exactly what I did, but there was
yeah.
2 major at the time emulators.
Yep.
And like neither one of them worked well.
Yeah.
But one of them had figured out the graphics drivers.
Yep.
And the other one figured out like the hardware emulation. So I took the DLLs from the one and put it into the other one, and then like changed the INI file to use like that. And then like you could go through like per game, and it had like settings per game.
Yeah.
And then like I just like changed that, and it worked perfect, dude. I swear, like
damn,
it was nuts. I was like, oh, I did it. And then like I played like a bunch of Dragon Force.
Oh shit, nice.
And I was like, oh, I'm good. I played 100 hours of Dragon Force. I feel amazing.
Never again.
Never again. And then, And I was like, I should have probably like put that on some forums somewhere.
Yeah.
Trying to help out some other people. But yeah, it was horrible. Like, so I would go to it like every couple of months. I was like, oh, I really want to play like this game or that game, and no.
Yeah. So just a couple days ago, honestly, I found Mendefin, which has been around for a while. It stands for my emulator doesn't need a name or something like that, or doesn't need a fucking name. So, so I found that, saw that it had Saturn support, and just thought, I've always wanted to try out Die Hard Arcade. Never got to play it. Loaded it up. Fucking worked perfect. And also there's goddamn net play. So I'm like, hold on. So I fucking just locked in, dude. I sweating looking for these Saturn games. I get Burning Rangers, Radiant Silvergun, Panzer Dragoon 1, 2, and then Panzer Dragoon Saga. And then I find this Shining Force 3 fan translation pack because only the first episode came out in America, which I've known.
There's like a Dragon Force 2 that never came out in America. And I want to play that like crazy. So
I'm getting all these things. I'm like patching ISOs and stuff, and I'm like preparing to be disappointed. I load up Panzer Dragoon Saga. Works perfect, full speed. I'm playing it like blown up to like a 1080p resolution. I throw it on the TV upstairs. I'm using this controller.
Like I just watched like a YouTube video about this. Some dude reverse engineered like the actual hardware at his house. He's just like, I'm a computer engineer, and like he had like a bunch of Sega Saturns like opened up, and he was like downloading the chips into like perfect emulation now.
Yep. So I bought this.
He doesn't change the game.
Yep, so about the Sega Saturn controller, it's plugged in upstairs. I'm playing, a 20-year-old game on a 65-inch TV, having the time of my life because so I do a retro stream on Saturdays. Sooner rather than later, whenever I'm done with Cuphead, there's going to be a Saturn stream. So I was pretty pumped at it, man. Like I couldn't believe it. Like, and I know that those like Panzer Dragoon Saga and Shining Force 3 are going to be like hundreds of hours for each one to beat. I'm not going to stream it. It's just
Sega
for me.
Would just get it together, man.
It seems like they are.
They released like a bunch of their Genesis games and stuff. Yep. Where they're like, oh, get a pack of like this. But it feels like for every like one step forward they take like 5 steps backwards. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, did you see like the like mini Segas that they released?
Yeah.
And there's like 4 games on there, and they're like, they want $90 for each one.
Those became good emulation machines, though. Yeah. Those became good emulation machines. So, I mean, I get it.
Only in Japan, dude.
Okay. Because I was thinking like the NES Mini and the SNES Mini. They released like a Genesis one that had like 100 games that people just always mod, and then it becomes like a just emulation box for you at that point. Yeah, which I mean,
wrong with that?
Raspberry Pis for.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like licensing or what, but it feels like there's like a whole catalog where they switched over to like CDs, where they have like the Saturn and like Dreamcast, and like they don't really put out a lot of those games like in any compilation. Or like when they do, it's like one game. They're like, get Crazy Taxi for $40, and I'm like, bro, I bought that game when it came out for like $20. Like, you're insane.
Yeah. I think, like, for me, the Saturn and PlayStation kind of like they overlapped a lot of the games, but also like with arcade emulation being the thing, like most of the things they overlapped on were fighters. So I could play the legitimate arcade perfect version, or I could play like the PlayStation version with like really long loading times, or the Saturn version that's closer to arcade perfect but still has like a loading time issue, or a
Fighter 2.
yeah, exactly. Or I could just play the arcade machine, so I'm playing the arcade version. So, but it's like some of the exclusives that I never got to play that didn't get ported, like the Panzer Dragoon series, stuff like that I'm super pumped for. So well, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I feel like they do this though because of marketing now, where the game comes out at like $40.
Yeah,
because it's like always on sale pricing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like I was watching people talk about like indie game developers, and they're like, oh, they're putting it out for like $10, but the price should be double or triple that. And I think it's like the always on sale thinking.
Just that, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what Steam is now, right? Like, there's a sale every month. We just got done with we had the like November sale for like Black Friday, or the fall sale. Then we had the winter sale, and now it's like going to be the Lunar New Year sale. Then it's the Valentine's sale. Like, there's a sale every month, man. Like the games, especially if you're on PC, I don't think you ever have to pay
midweek madness.
Yep. I don't think if you're patient, you never have to pay full price for a game.
They got key resellers. We could go to like some shady site and get that.
Right. Yeah, where they sell your password, your soul, and everything else for sure.
But yeah, I think like a lot of developers go for it's going to be on sale, so we're going to put it at like $30, $40, and then be like, oh, it's $10 now. And it's like it should have just been a $10 game. Like, how many more units are you moving at 10? You know.
Yeah, I think you hit that impulse buy though at that point.
I don't know. Like people are unfortunately like easily exploited. Like where like they see like 85% off. Like, that's why like everything ends in 99 cents, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's a better deal. It's not $5. It's $4.99.
Yeah. That's the like consumer like psychology that like you do one of the good tricks that I heard was you do like weird number percentages off, so people they can't calculate it in their head too well. Yeah, it's like
9% off. And like,
it's like okay, yeah. There's like a 35% off sale at I think it's like Sears a few years ago before they went out of business, and then like the next month they announced liquidation sale. Everything's 50% off, but then they went up to the same price as like retail, and then the 50% off, and then the 50% off drops it to like the 35% off price. So it's like, what are you doing?
But now everybody's buying it off.
Yep. It's an interesting tactic.
When they move into liquidate a store is they bump everything up to MSRP, and then they'll put it at like 20% off. So it's more than what it originally cost at the store, and they start like selling. They start moving units, and they're like, I don't understand it. And it's like, put 20% off on it, and now everyone's like, oh, I gotta get this.
Oh yeah. So for anyone watching or listening, you are getting taken to the cleaners by buying stuff at a liquidation sale.
I hate when grocery stores do things by ounces and unit. So they have to like disclose now, like, oh, it's 10 cents an ounce, or it'll be like 10 cents per like can.
Yeah.
And like they'll just use them interchangeably. And I'm like, oh, are we dealing with ounces? Are we doing per like can? What's going on here?
Yeah. Oh man.
So you'll be like going down like your soda pop aisle, and you'll be like, oh, I could get 4 of these, and it's 80 cents a can. And then like you move down, and you're like, this one's 12 cents an ounce. And I'm like, I don't know. Like I pull out like a conversion chart, and like,
right.
Like
do a quick mental math
to see what's the better deal.
That's very true. One thing that tripped me up, which is so funny because I feel like a lot of people don't get tripped up by this because they're a little more cultured than I am. But I went into Whole Foods to return something at Amazon, and I was like, well, I might as well get some food here. And obviously it's expensive as balls because it's Whole Foods, but I ended up getting like some bananas. And some bananas, some like a hamburger. I think I got chicken and some other stuff. And I was checking out, and it's going through fine. Talk to the cashier, did a little small talk, and then she pauses on the bananas, looks at me dead in the eye, and goes, "Are these conventional bananas or organic?" And I'm like, "What?" yeah. And then she's like, conventional or organic? I don't see the sticker. And I'm like, bananas. She's like, we have two types. It's like, there's two types of what? So I'm like holding up the line, being so fucking confused asshole. And so I look and like, and I see the price difference between organic and conventional, being like
peer
like,
over. You're like, huh? Let me
yeah,
see.
being like it's like a $6 difference, like,
Yeah.
not shitting you. And I'm like, holy shit. And then I'm thinking to myself, aren't bananas all clones right now? Anyways, there's no true
Aren't
bananas.
they all
So
organic?
yeah, so it's like, right,
Organic. Like,
right. So it's like,
out of something else.
so it's like conventional. And then she's like, all right.
You printed bananas, dude.
Right. So yeah, it was just
These
one thing that was
built in a
taken
lab.
aback. It's like, and now it's like kind of intimidating going to Whole Foods, man. I'm like double checking everything. I'm like, all right, she's gonna ask me the fucking square root of this fucking kumquat. I gotta figure this shit out before I get up there, So I'm doing my mental math.
Shady Bodega at my corner does this, where like they don't know the prices to anything, and I don't think their cash register is hooked up to anything. It's like, how much is this? And I'm like everything I get. It's like I have to like memorize the prices. I'm like, that's $1.73. This was $2.48. And like I always just round up to like a whole number so they know it's wrong. But I always round upwards so they know they're like probably getting a
Close
better
enough.
deal.
Yeah.
But it's also like you don't know your own prices, and like that's on you, dude. Like, they're incredibly nice though. They'll just throw in free stuff. They're like, "Oh, have this, bro. Much love." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man."
That works, man. I think that's what's kind of lost in, at least in the Midwest here. Like, you don't have. I feel like the corner store is dying, and you don't have like that neighborhood kind of store that you walk in, the cashier or owner, and they all know you. You see their family all the time. You grow up, their family grows up with you. You don't have that neighborhood feel anymore. So like that's something cool. So that's cool that you have like a bodega next to you where you can just go and just kind of have that homey feel. Because I feel no matter what store I'm going in, someone is just trying to take all your money.
So yeah, and I don't know what this says about me, but as soon as they started recognizing me, I was like, I gotta stop coming here so much. But I did the same thing with like I was ordering like delivery food like to my work.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, "Oh, I recognize you," and I was like, "Well, I guess I gotta stop ordering food. I'm doing this too much."
Yeah.
To recognize it. But I'm also like a highly recognizable person.
Right. You do stand out in a crowd. So
as well as I'm a low tier celebrity. It's like being tall. Like
yeah.
I'm a low tier celebrity.
Oh man, yeah. Definitely being tall is definitely a point where everyone's like, if they had to mention someone in the crowd that they remember, it's gonna be you because you literally towered over everyone.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I was gonna bring up. Oh yeah, the knowing your order name. Buddy of mine, we always went to this Chinese food place, and they would never remember me because my order changes every fucking time. My buddy, he walks in, goes chicken broccoli, and that's it. So
catchphrase.
Yeah. So he would walk in and go chicken broccoli, that's it. Chicken broccoli, that's it. Until the point where one day, like, I got off of work, my piece of shit car at the time was broken down. So my buddy picks me up. I'm like, yeah, let's grab food, man. It's right by my house. Let's just go, stop, grab some food, and we'll play games.
Yeah.
We walk in. I walk in first. The guy goes, hello, I'll be right with you. And then my buddy walks in after me. The whole fucking restaurant like turns around, sees him, and they all like a Greek family movie open their arms and go chicken broccoli. It's like, wow. It's like, jeez. Yeah. There it is. It's like Cheers, but that one Chinese food place, which is now closed, which is sad, but But chicken broccoli lives on, so every couple of times whenever I see that buddy, it's like chicken broccoli.
Family gallery.
Right. They're like, oh, I remember chicken broccoli.
They're like, what do you want? They're like, chicken broccoli. That's it. I was like, yeah, they high five. Absolutely. Yeah, everything's becoming more like homogenized and cookie cuttered, like throughout like the entire country. I feel.
Yeah.
It's like you got the same type of like shopping center with like the same 4 major brands, like corporate brands, like in it.
For sure.
Slowly, because it works. Like they're like, well, this is the working formula.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, my when I worked downtown. I absolutely hate Herberts and Gerberts. I think that their sandwiches are like low tier and not very good.
Herberts and Gerberts.
But my boss loves Herberts and Gerberts, right?
Yeah.
And I would always be the gopher. So I would go and get lunch. So I'm like, I'm not stopping two places, so I'll just keep getting Herberts and Gerberts. So I'm trying everything on the menu to find something that I would like.
Their soups are good.
Their soups are pretty decent. So I was just going to this Herberts and Gerberts like every day. So the guy started noticing me, and he's like, hey man, you order something different all the time. He's like, do you find anything you like? I was like, honestly, man, like I'm like this, your sub shop is fine. I didn't know if he was like manager or owner, so I didn't want to offend him. I didn't want to say this is trash, but I was like, yeah, man, I just can't decide on anything. Like typically I'll grab
like a soggy armpit, dude. Like, I don't,
right. Typically I'll grab like sushi on my lunch, or like sushi, a burger, or a couple of tacos or something. And there's food trucks all over the place. So I'd much rather go to a food truck rather than like
a lot of great food downtown
stuff. Yeah. So I'm just grabbing it, and the guy goes, so you had this yesterday, and he came back, and he's like, you never leave with a smile on your face, man. I'm gonna make you smile. And I was like, okay. So then,
here, dude.
Right.
This is like some decent proposal.
Right.
Shop situations you get yourself into.
So I ordered like whatever. It's like the wasabi like cranberry like spread that they have on the sandwich, and the dude goes, let me pump this up a notch for you. So then he like throws in free soup, like a free cookie or something like that, and then like a free soda, and then he's like, and then so I go to pay, and he goes, you know what, man, no charge, we're gonna make you smile today. So I'm like, okay. So then I got back with free food, and the fact that it was free, that was the most delicious sandwich I've ever had. So it's something like when someone's just like, it's just like service, I think can go a long way, even at that. So then after that, I started going in, and dude just like fist bumped me every time I got in. So it ended up being like the relationship made the food better. But
absolutely, they said they did studies on people who lost their memory, and they would give them foods that they used to say like they would never eat, and they were like, oh, it's pretty good. Like, so there's like a lot of like memory association with like food that people don't like. People who hate spicy food and stuff. Where they'd be like, oh, this is fine. They like, start loving spicy food because they didn't have like all their preconceived notions going back into like eating that same food again.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of it's like just memory, man. Like that's why I don't mess with mustard, bro.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because like when I was a little kid, probably like 7 or 8 years old, my brother was like, oh, get the mustard for me. Open it up, and I was like, I can't do it. It's not coming out. And he just grabs it and he just goes and like squeezes it all over my head and punches me in the stomach. And ever since that day, I'm like, man, fuck mustard. They're like, oh, do you fuck with mustard? I'm like, no, I don't fuck with mustard, dude.
There's a painful memory associated with it. Like, mustard punches you in the stomach. Yeah, dude, that's some traumatizing shit. And that's what I don't get. So I was the older brother, right? And but my sister and I are 10 months apart. So yes, I'm older, but it's kind of like not very. And you can't really pick on a little sister because you get your ass beat.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So I never had that like big brother like pick on your younger siblings or even like younger cousins. Like never had that. But everyone around me, they're like, yeah, my older brother threw me out the 3rd story window, and I'm fine. I'm like, and he what? Yeah. He tried to. He tried to commit murder multiple times. It's fine. Yeah, my brother stabbed me. I'm like, shit. So, like growing up,
stabbed before.
And one of my best friends growing up, man, him and his little brother would fight all the time. And I don't mean like people are like, oh, they roughhouse. I'm like, no, man, they're just taking slugs at each other, man. It was like they're trying to fuck each other up. And I'm like, man, I don't think I want that relationship, man. I don't. So. Yeah, and then now, like everyone I know who's like had like the older brother, they're like closest can be. No one's like, man, fuck that guy.
Yeah, you gotta go through some trials and tribulations with the.
Yeah, man. That's why. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like the abused like spouse thing that people have going. It's like it's like a fucking Stockholm syndrome with your
Yeah.
with your older sibling. It's like oh Chad, he's great. What oh yeah, what are your fondest memories of Chad?
No, we used
Yeah,
to try and kill each other all the time.
yeah.
Oh,
He choked me until I passed out. Good guy, good guy, great guy, best man at his wedding.
Yeah, wouldn't have it any other way.
Right. Oh man, yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
man. So it's food service goes a long way. It's all we're
Really?
saying.
Yeah. Back to that point.
Create great
Service.
memories.
Yeah. So what are you on lately, man? Just
For video gaming.
video gaming, yeah.
The last thing I did was like beat Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. How many crashes did you get on the way to the end?
What?
How many crashes did you get on the way to the end?
Like barely none. Like I think like one or two visual crashes where I just like restarted and
Okay.
so I played on the PC.
Yeah.
I hear like it's kind of unplayable for some people, but I'm not like jumping on that. Like it seems like it's kind of like the hot thing to do is like whatever, like oh this game doesn't work, like let's all trash it. It's like 50% of those copies were sold on like the PC, and like there wasn't that many crashes like on PC. And like even if you go through like Steam reviews on PC, they'll be like this game's garbage, and it'll be like 60 hours played. 80 hours played.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thumbs down this game. I played it for 90 hours. There wasn't enough to do in it. It's like, bro, you play this game for almost 100 hours.
Right.
You're upset. You're like, it should have been more. And it was like, it felt like there was a lot of like fetch quests and like just useless stuff in the world.
Okay.
But it was built around like a single narrative focused driven game. It's basically like a visual novel game. So if you go into the game thinking like you're gonna have like this fun like GTA 5 action adventure open world simulation, that's not what it is.
Well, it's an RPG like for sure, right?
A hentai visual novel.
Nice.
Where like you're trying to get from A to B, and like there's a lot in there. There's like the main mission, then like the sub mission that relates to the main mission, and then there's like the bullshit missions, which are below all that.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, overall, like I loved the game. I beat it. I played it as if I was the character the first time, and then like that's how you get the worst ending.
Okay.
You gotta like, because they're like in the game, they kind of give you like a ticking gun type of thing, where they're like, you only got a week to live, and like time passes in real time in the game or in the game time clock.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm not wasting any time. So like, people call you up like, hey man, I got some. You want to buy a used car? And I'm like, I don't have time for your
time. I only have a year to live.
Yeah, I'm like, I got a week to live, bro. I'm not going to go around like helping you out, dude. Why don't you help me out?
Isn't that
I don't even know you. Why don't you get my number?
Bullshit.
Like when you play the game like that, like you get the worst ending.
Got it.
And then they did stuff where they put in jokes, but the joke kind of relates to like the main story. So it was like weird. Where it's like, oh, is this going to develop somewhere? And like, come to find out, it was all like a joke. It's weird.
Weird.
It was great. I give it 7 out of 10. No real game-breaking problems or glitches for me.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of replayability as well.
Got it. Because I'm curious about that. Because some people have like 100, like you said, like 90 to 100 hours in it, and I'm like, it's a closed loop game. I don't think it's true open world, right? Because I'm guessing there's dynamic events, but
like mostly everything happens in missions. Like nothing's gonna happen organically in the world.
Yeah, so I'm assuming
like the teams didn't talk to each other. So like there's like a GPS and it's like a mini map.
Okay.
And you're like, why don't you just show this shit in the world? And then like there's a racing story mission where you're racing, and that has like on the map like shows you where to go. Like, so I'm like clearly like you have like a point way system that uses like a spline to draw out like a 3D rendered like where to go.
Yep.
And like that team didn't talk to the main team. Like in story missions, like you'll eat like at like different vendors.
Yeah.
But that's not like when you go to like sit down and eat, like in the game, it just gives you a menu. And it's like you're buying things from a store vendor.
Okay.
And it's like you have like the system, just copy paste. Like it doesn't make sense. Like just have it where you can eat Chinese food at like these places that are selling Chinese food.
Just became Second Life.
Story missions, but you can't sit down outside of that. So it's just a weird thing where it's like you built the systems, but you didn't integrate them. So like whoever was like the manager in charge of integrating gameplay systems absolutely dropped the ball, failed.
Gotcha.
It's like even though there's not a lot of game there, story wise, like I just mainlined the story. Like I said, I played it like as if it was like the world.
Yeah.
And it takes about 20 hours to beat the entire thing. I did it in about 17.
Okay. Okay.
And then like after that, like you can do like the sub missions that have like really good like things that relate to the main story and unlock the alternate endings.
Yep.
And I did all of those, and I got about like 60, 70 hours of gameplay.
Okay.
But like all the things that make it like feel like a world that you could live in and do things in, like sitting down somewhere or eating something, you can't do it. But they're in the game, which is kind of frustrating in its own right. So.
Gotcha. Are you going to go back to it when the multiplayer drops?
I'm going to go back to it when they open up the modding tools.
Okay.
Because I was talking to my one buddy where I was like, the Venn diagram of people who are into Cyberpunk and people who love like programming and 3D modeling, the overlap on that, my buddy was like, that's just a perfect circle. Like, there's no overlap. So I think like when you sell, I think it's like 13 million copies, if you get like, 10, 20% of that who know how to program and mod.
Yeah.
Like right now we could be living in a Cyberpunk mod, dude. Like I think the game's going to be huge. I think they're going to move 3 to 4 times as many units by the end of this year as soon as they open up the modding world.
You're right. Fans kind of do take the games to a whole new level. So I'd be interested to see that. I'll eventually play the game this year. It's not. It wasn't on like my priorities for like 2020, and even now there's other games that I'd rather play. And like I don't know. I like the cyberpunk dystopian kind of world, but I was a big Deus Ex fan, the original 2000 release. I like Blade Runner as much as the next guy.
This is like the Shasta version of Deus Ex.
Yeah. So and then from what I've seen, like a lot of the things they could have just went full bore with it and just took what like the foundation Deus Ex laid out back in 2000 that Human Revolution didn't really capitalize on. I was hoping Cyberpunk would. It seems like they just kind of stopped flat as well. Deus Ex, you could just change the entire mission structure for everything. You could go full pacifist if you wanted to. It seemed like there's a lot of story-driven things in Cyberpunk where you didn't have that level of choice. And when I saw that it was more like a traditional like RPG in a sense, like a traditional Western RPG, my level of interest kind of dropped a little bit because I wanted more customization and more just like ways to get through the mission. Like
I would say like
Deus
those exist, but like I said, like it's like the watered down diet version of things.
Yeah,
where it's like it's super obvious, and like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah,
but it's like you can go through the main door. You can go. There's usually like a window or a secondary thing you can sneak in through, and then there's like the hacking path where you can like hack and like it's in every building, every mission. Like I said, like all the stuff you interact with are like from these missions. It's like everywhere there's these 3 options, and like if you just look around for like a hot second, you're gonna see it, and it'll be super obvious. Like once you start seeing it, and they're all kind of placed in the exact same places.
Got it.
So it's like this is like the 3 rails, and
do that. Yeah, it wasn't just a sandbox; it was just set paths. Okay.
I would say it only matters combat for about the first 4 hours of the game.
Okay.
I would say like the power creep goes like you suck and everyone's way better than you for like the first 4 hours.
Yeah.
Then from like hour 4 to about 8, you're on equal footing with everybody. And then from hour like 8 up to like the rest of the game, you're a superhero.
Got it.
So it goes like boom, like a curve just shoots off the chart. It's like exponential growth.
Right.
And if like you don't experience that, like you weren't really min-maxing right. Because like everyone's biggest complaint is like, oh, this is so overpowered. Oh, if you use just fist, it becomes so overpowered. Oh, if you use just blades, it becomes so overpowered, it breaks the game. It's like, you get like double jump, you get bullet time, like you literally become a superhero. Like the first half of the game, like you're sitting street level, having to deal with problems, and like you'll probably maybe die once or twice. But after that, like you're like, I literally jump like rooftop to rooftop. I like run and like slam down and like knock everybody out. I hack people from across the map. I like have a sniper scope from across. I see through a building. I see everybody in the building. Like, it's great. And that's like
Yeah.
the power fantasy I want, man. I don't want to be like, oh, everything's super difficult, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I enjoy difficult games too, and you're right. It's nice to just be a god, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
It gives you a good, I would say, curve for that experience. And I think most people who do the reviews only think about that last half of the game where they're
mm,
the god level and they're like, everything's broken. This game's broken. It's broken. Bullshit. They need to balance it. And it's like, no, that's the point. Like Cyberpunk, from a tabletop game,
yeah,
is always about the same thing. It goes by the rule of cool. And I feel like they kind of stuck to that for the video game as well. And like if you
yeah,
don't understand that design philosophy from like what they took it from, then
yeah.
like you're going to be like this kind of breaks convention of gaming where there should be a challenge, there should be balance.
Have you played the tabletop game, or do you just know a lot about it?
I know a lot about. I've watched people play it, and
Okay.
I've like watched reviews on it.
Yeah,
I just never had like a group of people who want to like sit down and play it and learn the
yeah.
rules and stuff. I hear like Cyberpunk Red is like a good place to get in on.
Okay.
Uh, there's like
Okay.
a bunch of like where they have like pre-made characters and stuff. But I know it's like a base 5 style game where like you have like a table and you roll like a 4-sided die and like you do that times 5 and that's your hit points.
Sure.
And the game works in such a way that again like it gives you that sense of the first half of the game of the actual Cyberpunk game too. So like the more you understand, like if it's like a base 5, the most you could have is like 25 HP on a character sheet, like on the tabletop.
Yeah.
And then like anything below, I think it's like 17 is considered like you're in critical damage. You have to start doing like saving throws. Then everything makes a lot more sense in the sense of the game. Where you're like, oh, I feel super weak, and then I feel like crazy powerful. Because it goes by like run and gun mechanics in the tabletop game. Where it's like if you're hitting your shots, like you just keep going, and then you feel like the baddest man on the planet.
Got it. I think that Cyberpunk, and I'm glad it's doing well, even despite the controversy, because my main hope is that the popularity of Cyberpunk, the fact that we had a Blade Runner sequel last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, is that 2 games will get made. A new Deus Ex, not set in the Human Revolution like era, but like a different
Illuminati,
era, where it's like where it's more like you know, like the original game, a little more open, and Shadowrun making a return. I know we had like the top-down RPGs, like the 3 or 4.
Well, so the beautiful thing about that, if you start looking at all the players on the board, Microsoft owns Bethesda and Shadowrun now. They sub-licensed out Shadowrun to the Kickstarter program to make those isometric games.
Yep. Which I'm hoping we get Bethesda-made Shadowrun is my hope.
Or like they have like Halo, like 343 Studios. It's kind of a shadow of its former self. No pun
intended. They need to make a better.
But they have like a bunch of major like studios that they could give the property to. That I mean, they have. I wouldn't mind seeing like a 343 take on it. I wouldn't mind Bethesda. I wouldn't mind the people who made. Was it 343 that made that last game, Destiny?
No, that was Bungie.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Bungie like taking a crack at it.
Yeah. I see. My worry too is if like Bungie 343 do it, like the multiplayer focus like game dev studios are kind of like in this whole games as a service mode. So what I don't want is a Shadowrun game being games as a service. I want like a full narrative
Microsoft's
experience.
whole business model now, dude. Like they want you on Microsoft.
Oh no, I see. I get that, but I meant games as a service like Destiny, where you're in this like persistent world and it's continually
keep buying the expansion.
Yeah. See, I don't want that. I want a full game.
$40 part of the game that comes out every couple months.
Yeah,
I mean, people are saying that's what Cyberpunk's trying to do though too. So it's time will tell. Like they've been good at putting out free DLC as a studio.
For sure. All right. Well, my son just came in, so I think that's going to be time to end it. So come here, Monty.
The next episode as DLC next week.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, Combo Wombo. We'll be doing another episode next week. So we'll see you guys. What?
Catch the free DLC next week. Wombo,
Free
wombo out.
DLC. We'll talk about our life goals. No, I'm kidding. We're just gonna it's gonna be
Become life
gonna be on
coaches,
it.
dude.
Right, here it is. Life coaches and workout gurus and yogis. Just
We're gonna start
showing
selling people
everything.
PDFs of how to make money.
All right, guys. So
fun.
perfect, man.
Peace.
Later.